I'm having a weird sense of deja vu right now. But I think to complete it, Addison, would you come up and sit next to Zag, please? Zig and Zag. That was how they had name tags on that said Zig and Zag the very first Sunday when I interviewed for the congregation. And they were sitting about right where you're sitting now, Mariah. And I thought that, actually I was wondering what kind of parents Tim and Becky were to name their child Zig. But anyway. But you're not going to come up and sit up front? No, okay. In the gospel, you heard it, not once, but twice. Once by the angel, once by Jesus. Do not be afraid. And yet they ran filled with fear and joy. What were they afraid of? And that's really the question I think we need to ask, because what did they have to be afraid of? Well, of course, Matthew's gospel, unlike the other gospels, gives us a lot more of the details of the actual resurrection. So we know, for example, there was an earthquake. There was a great earthquake. And the earthquake occurred when the angel came down, rolled away the stone to release Jesus from the tomb. Was it the appearance of the angel, the lightning-like appearance, the dazzling light, the brilliance of the angel himself? And what I find fascinating about that is that we have a little bit of a glimpse of what that might be like. And that glimpse is when you wake up one winter morning after it snowed overnight and you look out, the sun has come up, and the sun gleaming off of that snow, that pure white snow, is so dazzling as to be almost painful to look at. I think that's the kind of light being described here. Or was it simply the message? He is risen. Was that what made them afraid? Or perhaps, like the disciples who were locked in a room, was it the threat of persecution? Were they still living in the past, living 3 days ago, in watching Jesus die, watching all of their hopes disappear, be dashed against the cross when Jesus dies there after suffering a horrible, agonizing death? Or was it perhaps the fact that the guards were afraid? They were so afraid they became like dead men, we are told. Or perhaps they were afraid of reality setting in. Maybe they were beginning to recall everything that Jesus had said. All the things he spoke of that they now began to realize that were truly coming to pass. That he truly had just won victory over what we refer to here as the unholy trinity. Sin, death, and the devil. Our church is named after the Holy Trinity. God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. It is the unholy trinity that God the Son destroys once for all. Yes, they were also filled with joy, but I really do have to wonder, what was it that made them so afraid? Now, we may never answer that question. We don't need to. But I think what's more important is that we look at today, is fear one of our biggest hindrances to our own ability to believe? I find that oftentimes today there are a great many Christians who, we call them CNOs, Christians in name only. Because they don't really believe in all that the gospel entails. And I'm here to tell you, folks, now I know you'd expect your pastor to say this, but it really is true. My experiences in life with the people that I have met, the people who have been dying, the people who have been suffering, the people who have gone through all kinds of things, they have but one witness. Those who know, I know for a fact. In fact, it's actually the pastor of one of the children of one of our members who actually died for 5 minutes in the emergency room. And the experience of that person in that moment of death is such that they cannot wait to get back to where they were. They're not in a hurry. But because of the gloriousness of it, the warmth, the pleasantness of it, in being in the presence of God, because of the resurrection of Jesus Christ, the very thing that we are here celebrating today, that is what he experienced. And that is what he can't wait to get back to. But fear can indeed be one of our greatest hindrances. Fear is also Satan's greatest weapon to cause unbelief. As we looked at the Didache during Lent, we talked about that. We talked about fear. Fear being the thing that cripples us, that Satan can use to drive a wedge between us and God. Fear also set the groundwork for one of the church's early great schisms. There was a guy named Donatus, and the 4th century, early 4th century, Donatus and his followers in North Africa, they believed that the priests had to be perfect. That if a priest had sinned in any way, or if, say for example, the priest had recanted his faith under the threat of persecution, and there was a lot of persecution during that time. There was actually an emperor, Diocletian, who did quite a bit of persecuting of the early Christians in the 3rd century. And so there were a lot of priests who also then recanted their faith simply to avoid death. They were threatened with death, and they said, oh, no, we really don't believe it. So they recanted. They may not have meant their recanting of their faith, but yet, once they had done so, Donatus and his followers said, you can no longer be a priest. And worse, if you've been baptized by one such priest, imagine if you've been baptized by a priest or a pastor who was a sinner. Wow. Guess what? That's all of you, just so you know. But yet, Donatus said that if you've been baptized by a priest or a pastor who was a sinner, your baptism was not valid, because the pastor had to be completely perfect. Well, folks, I'll tell you this from my own experience. There's no such thing as the perfect pastor. I know that's shocking coming from me. It really is. I know. But there really is not a perfect pastor. And there's no such thing as a sinless pastor as well. We could add that one in as well. So again, getting back to fear. Does it stop us today? Is that what stops anyone who does not believe everything that we just read? Everything that we talk about, everything that we really ought to be celebrating throughout the year. And yet it is Easter that we bring flowers in, we put the cross out, we drape it in white, we hang up our white banners, we make the church smell good, we get out our Sunday best, which we only wear once or twice a year now anyway. We were actually having a conversation about that earlier during the breakfast. And yet, do we really take the same joy every day that we get today? Well, like Friday's message, all have a problem with the cross in one way or another. Of course, for Christians, that problem is mostly in either not wanting to relinquish control over our salvation or in wanting to skip straight to today. Well, also, many have a problem with the resurrection, with what that entails. Too many today want to dismiss outright the claim that He is risen. Very good, very good. I wasn't actually looking for you to do that, but that's okay. You can do that. Anytime you can chime in. Don't worry about that, okay? It's not that logical, they might say. How can somebody believe in a person rising from the dead? It just does not happen. Well, actually, I know many people who would beg to differ. People who have indeed been dead. People who have indeed been raised from the dead. People who have had those experiences to bring back and inform us, those who are still alive who have not had that experience, that yes, in fact, everything that we talk about, everything that we proclaim, everything we claim to believe is true. In fact, if you don't want to believe a person who's only been dead for 5 minutes, believe Don Piper. A movie made about a year ago from a book that he wrote about 10 years ago, a guy who was dead for nearly 2 hours and came back to life having an experience of what seemed to be just a moment for him, but a glimpse of heaven, a glimpse to show us that everything we talk about today is true because, and here it is, He is risen. Hallelujah. You better believe it. Absolutely. Well, so people want to dismiss that. Of course, that's why, even though we cannot ultimately prove that it happened, it's why we call it faith. It's why we believe it even though we cannot prove it. And that is why there is joy in recalling once again the resurrection. Well, going back to what I talked about before, does fear stop us then today? Well, do you remember this from a couple of Easters ago?
Because what it meant for them, it means for us.
It's not about fear. It's about joy. Oddly enough, I remember we've used that a couple times in the past, and the last couple of years I've done that very thing. I've taken my entire directory, my entire phone directory, sent that very message out to people, and both times, I'm not going to mention who, but both times, there was one individual who, instead of, if I say he is risen, you know what your response is, right? Well, in that case, when I sent out as a text message, what I got back from somebody was, who is this? But anyway. So why don't we have that reaction today? Why is it that fear seems to cripple us? Why is it that the joy just doesn't seem to be there, or it doesn't last beyond today? We're going to have food today, right? We're going to have all kinds of celebrations. Now, let's face it, we still have a huge population of the unchurched right here in Dawson County and surrounding areas, to the tune of over 50% of the population. And so what is it, and why then is it that people today are so afraid of when it comes to believing? Well, is it because it defies logic? Because we can't prove that it actually happened? We can't build a time machine, go back and physically watch the events itself unfold? Is it just simply that it's not reasonable because we know that all things die in the end and therefore we too shall die? Or is it simply that we don't believe that humanity itself needs salvation? That's kind of an odd one because when you look at the world around us, boy, the evidence is overwhelming to the contrary. Or is it just because we have no time? We can't be bothered to take the time to spend believing and immersing ourselves in God's Word and in gathering together as a community of believers once a week at least to worship God? Or is it because the Bible itself is not believable? There are different gospel accounts after all. All four gospels tell the same story but from a different vantage point. And of course, when it comes to the gospel accounts, there is a reason why they're called different. They are the same, but yet they do include different details. And what most people fail to understand is that the Gospels emphasize different aspects of Jesus' life because they are trying to make different points for different groups of people. The Gospels differ in their accounts precisely because people are different. The Gospels are the same in their accounts, however, because we are all in need of atonement by God. We all need salvation. We can't escape that. Matthew, of course, which is our gospel today, he presents this in the details of the resurrection most vividly. These supernatural events, the things that happen, that thunderous earthquake, accompanied by an angel in blinding white clothes that comes down, announcing in no uncertain terms that Jesus has risen from the dead. And not only has he risen, but in doing so, he has triumphed victoriously over death, over death's associates, sin, and the devil. We know that all of our enemies have been destroyed by the rising of Christ. The Christ who rises in glory once again, rises as the sun, rises in the east. And that, by the way, is why we have a traditional sanctuary here in the altar facing east. That way, when we gather on Sunday morning and the sun rises in the east, you are facing east, watching the rising sun as the Son of God also rises from the dead. That's actually why many churches, even still today, have altars on the east side of the building. Not all of them do, but most. Or many, I should say. So, and Christ is victorious. It is all about victory. It is all about Christ destroying these things, including fear, that would separate us from God. He's not merely paying the penalty for our sin, but the wages of sin, of course, is indeed death. It's not merely in being a sacrificial lamb who is innocent but took our place on the cross. Yes, Jesus did die. Yes, Jesus did suffer. And yes, he suffered for all of our sins. But in a huge cosmic divine battle that is beyond our comprehension, he has defeated the forces of darkness. the forces of sin, death, and the devil. He has won the victory for us, His creation. So yes, Christ is victorious to all. Christ is accessible to all. Yes, He arose. He is victorious over that unholy Trinity. And yes, He is there for all to receive, to believe, and to perceive. I just got those backwards there in my little thing. And that was one of my great lines, too, because I made it all rhyme. You know? You got to receive the gospel. You got to perceive the gospel. There, I got it. And you have to believe the gospel. And all that, of course, comes by the power of the Holy Spirit. And, of course, we do know that Scripture informs us quite well that no, not all people will. There are many who won't. There is no such thing as universal salvation. We could look just at Philippians chapter 3, where St. Paul tells us about the many who will live as enemies of the cross of Christ. And of course, what is their ultimate glory? It's the self. It's all about self-fulfillment, self-gratification, about not thinking or not placing anybody else first except for themselves. However, to borrow a Star Trek term, we know the prime directive is to go and make disciples and to baptize in the name of the triune God. Got any Trekkies out there who caught that? Got a few. Come on, stay on. I know you are. Yeah. Well, salvation is most definitely not for all, but that does not eliminate either the joy that we should have today and every day, which of course is the exact opposite of fear, and what those women also experience, nor the call to share that joy with others that they too may be called. When you're happy, and you know it, clap your hands. No, okay, I was kidding. But when you're happy, what's the first thing you want to do? You want to share it. Yeah, exactly. You want to share it. When something good has happened, you want to tell everybody what's happened. You want to tell people about it, and yet sometimes I think life just kind of gets in the way, and we become a little bit maybe depressed, a little bit routine, ordinary, and we lose sight of the joy that ought to be there every day. You see, for us, fear should not stop us. And it shouldn't stop us until all people are saved, until all people have heard the good news of Jesus Christ. So in other words, that universal salvation is, quote, achieved, but only because all people hope in Jesus Christ. All people one day believe in Jesus Christ. Now we know that won't happen, but that should be our goal regardless. And the reason why is because Christ has risen from the dead. He is indeed the first fruits of those who have fallen asleep. Christ rises victorious, smashing the powers of sin, death, and the devil. Christ rises in joy, destroying the hold that fear has on us. And like the words from the cross, Christ's words after rising fill us. They inspire us. And they send us also. Now on Friday, we actually looked at a short video that actually took the 7 last words of Jesus from the cross and placed them into a short video. Well, we can't forget the words that Jesus speaks after the cross also. His words end, and we'll hear this in a week or two in our gospel, to go, to proclaim the gospel to all nations, to baptize in the name of the Holy Trinity. And why? Because He has promised to be with us. He is with us always. And why is He with us? Because He is risen.
He is risen indeed. Hallelujah.
And amen. If you'll rise, we'll sing hymn number 145 for Hymn of the Day.